Exercise 3. In this exercise, we're going to take a look at functionality built into CREO Parametric 3.0 and secondary features as well as plane creation and sketching. You could go to the vertanu1.com webpage, and if you go to the instructional manuals tab, you'll find the CREO Parametric 3.0 Basics Manual. You could go ahead and open that up, and we're going to scroll down to page 31. 31 starts exercise 3. Now I'm going to go down a little further just to show you what the goal is here. Today the goal is to create this part that you see here. Okay, it's a ratchet, forged ratchet body. So let's begin. Start with the new part file and go ahead and name this E3. Go to the Extrude button and click on the front plane to begin your sketch. Go ahead and draw a center line vertically, and then go ahead and take the line tool and zoom up a little bit and draw a little angled line just like this, and then middle click. Now it's going to bring up some dimensions, and you'll see that as usual CREO zooms out pretty far, so we want to truncate that a little bit. We could just leave it as is and then put it in later, or we could draw a center line and kind of squeeze it down to that. Actually, that's maybe not a bad idea. I'm going to go ahead and delete this. Here's a good way. We could actually draw a construction line. I could take the line tool, draw a vertical line, and then if you right click, select it and right click, you could change that to construction. And now we could put in, like, for example, this is going to be about 2 inches, 3 inches or so. And there, now we have a 3-inch dimension. Now we could go ahead and take the line tool and just down here, a little bit below the center line there, click and drag a angled line up, just like that. Middle click 2 times. Okay, now we want to mirror that across, so we're going to learn how to mirror. Go ahead and go to mirror right here. And select the center line. And I might have actually deleted my center line. Hold on a second. Let me hit escape here. Let's make sure we have a center line there. I think when I scrolled over it, I might have deleted it. Okay. Select what you want to mirror. Click on mirror. And now go ahead and select the center line. And it should mirror it across. Okay. So now with that, we could go to the arc tools. And I would recommend going to the tangent ends, 3-point tangent ends arc. What you could do here is glide up to the vertex, right over here in the upper left, click, drag it straight up, and you'll see that little T come off of it. That's good. That means it's tangent, and connect it to this vertex over here. Do the same below. Go ahead and click on one of the vertices, drag it down and around, and connect it. And we've automatically created 2 tangent arcs. Now, many of you might want to draw 2 circles and then draw the lines, make them tangent, trim them up. This actually eliminates any trimming whatsoever, as you could see. And also, we automatically got the tangency, which you would have to add as a constraint manually if you didn't do it this way. Also, I'm going to turn off my datum planes here. Okay, now we could go ahead and middle click 2 times. If you don't see it turn to color inside, that indicates that you have a non-watertight boundary condition. You might have an extra little line somewhere, a fragment, or take a close look at the connection points that there's not a little gap between them or 2 dots. If that's the case, you could use you could delete and draw a new line, or there's a trim tool, which is delete segment. You could trim that up. Okay, let's go ahead and add some dimensions. This one down here is going to be 0.6. This one up here is going to be 0.75. And then we need to add our own dimension. So go to the normal dimension tool over here. And if you select the center points of both arcs, or if you select the arcs themselves, that might be easier than trying to grab the center point. And then over to the right here, middle click. you can now put in 0.75 for the distance between both of those. Now one other thing, you'll see that this is set to 0.01 offset. We could do one of two things. We could actually grab this, actually middle click a couple times, get out of the dimension tool, drag this and connect it. You could type in 0, and unfortunately it's not connecting manually, so we could go over here and force it with a coincident relationship. Just select that point and this point, and it locks it in. Okay, we are ready to go ahead and extrude this. So go ahead and hit OK. You could see the automatic extrusion, very long, but what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and just put in, this is supposed to be 1 inch thick overall on both sides, but what we're going to do is we're going to put in 0.5. And then under options here, we're going to click on add taper, and we want to add -7 degrees taper on there. Now, one of these days I'm hoping that they're going to add in the ability to taper the other side too, but I don't think that's added in version 3, as you can see here. So unfortunately, you're going to have to mirror it still. Okay, so go ahead and hit the green check mark. And now we'll flip it around, and we're going to mirror this across. Go ahead and select the feature, go to mirror up here, select this face on the back to mirror it across and hit the green check mark. And it should appear this way, where basically from the center it shrinks down both directions. Okay, if it's inverted, go ahead and hit undo a couple times, or maybe even edit the feature by right clicking, and you have the ability to edit the feature and go in and change that to -7 versus 7 degrees of draft. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go to the view normal here, or actually I'm sorry, standard orientation, which is isometric for me if I'm correct in setting that up. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and we're going to work on the head here. We could go to extrude, because we're going to make a recess on here. We know we have to cut extrude down into it, so we select that face. And now we're going to use the offset. You select offset, over in the upper right you'll see chain or loop. Go ahead and select loop and select the whole face. Hopefully you'll see the arrow pointing inward, so that means you don't have to use a negative number. So in this case we just want an offset of 0.125. Hit enter, and now you can see it created that profile. So now we could go ahead and hit OK, and we're going to flip the direction. It should automatically go to remove material. If it didn't, go ahead and add remove material so you can see the pocket, or this recess that we're going to create. And the depth is just going to be 0.1. Hit enter and hit the green check mark. And now we have a cut. Now some might ask, why did you put draft on that? Just for the sake of design intent, let's say that this is going to be a machine feature versus cast or drop forged. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and put a pocket in here for some gears. Select this face here. And notice I've always been going to extrude. You could go and click on sketch first. If you do that, just be aware that this little you could go ahead and just add the sketch first. It does usually show up on the feature tree as an additional feature, which some people don't like, so it's really up to you. It's personal preference if you really care about that or not. There's some suggestion that it might even, over the course of hundreds of features, could even slow it down a little bit, but I'm not sure if that's just banter or there's actually some fact between that. So anyway, let's go ahead and click and drag out a circle right here. Now this one isn't so easy to find the center of this. So what we're going to use instead of a circle, we're going to go use concentric. By selecting concentric, you can now select an edge and drag off from that edge. Now notice that I'm intersecting this circle into the one below it. Go ahead and click, the middle click 2 times. Now you don't see a first condition where you actually have the transparency, or this like orange transparency on the top yet, because we need to trim this out. So if you go to delete segment you could just do this click and see it's like, looks like I'm scribbling. Just drag it through those entities and I'll trim it out. Middle click again, and now you can see you can type in the values for each. So in this case, 0.375, and this is 0.5, which I got them really close to begin with, which is pretty good considering I do this all the time. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and hit OK, and we could go to extrude. So again, we just did a little different there, but it still works the same. Now we want this to flip, so we could click on that little arrow and flip it down. It should go a depth of 0.75. Again, make sure remove material selected. It seems to be automatically doing it, so we're in good shape. Hit the green check mark. Now what I was talking about is right here. You'll see that the features that were used just by going straight to extrude versus sketch don't indicate a sketch. You just see this section underneath it. Whereas here, when we start a sketch first, it appears above the feature. But it doesn't seem to cause any issues for general modeling, as far as I know. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and go back to extrude. We're going to put some holes in here. Select this face, and you could just use this circle again, concentric, for both. Middle click, select this one, drag it in. If you get the double R, see that? Means that the radius is equal for both circles, and that's good. That's what we want. So click, middle click 2 times, change the dimension just on one, and they will both update. So this is going to be 0.35. Hit OK, and we're going to go ahead and you could flip that direction. See it cut through. But make sure, just for design intent, if this ever thickens, you might want to just have extrude to intersect with all surfaces, which is basically through all. Hit the green check. Okay, our head is complete. Let's go ahead and we're going to add now. We're going to learn how to make a new plane. Now planes, right up here, you could just click on the plane tool, and you could select a plane to offset from. In this case, the top plane, being the way that we model on the front, we'll be able to use that, and we could put in transition of 4 inches, so basically typing in an explicit value, but in this case it's going the wrong direction. So let's flip that arrow, and actually let's put in -4. There we go. Okay, or we could have grabbed that little dot and just dragged it down. Either or is fine, and hit OK. Now with that new datum, we could go ahead and what we're going to do, we'll click on extrude again. And now we could just draw a circle. So go back to the center and point circle. And drag out a circle here. Middle click. And you'll see if you rotate with the middle mouse button that it's floating out there. So let's middle click 2 times. It needs to be 0.5. So it's 4 inches away. Hit OK. Flip the direction, and instead of going an explicit value, we could say go up to extrude to next surface. Actually, in this case, there's multiple surfaces, and that's singular. And or this one. Let's see. Actually, that might work. That does work. Never mind. Okay, so there we have extrude up to next, and thus it doesn't go through the part, but it does meet with the other part and join. Let's now go ahead and select the front plane again for the handle. Go to extrude. Okay. And here we're going to go ahead, and yours might rotate a little differently. It just depends on the orientation when you hit sketch. Okay, and this is fine. We're going to go ahead now. I'm going to go to the rectangle tool and draw out a little rectangle over here. Middle click. Now, I'm going to take the Centerline tool, and off of the midpoint here, drag off a Centerline. Middle click. Oh, actually, I'm sorry. We'll do a that'll work. This needs to be 3.75, and then the length of this is going to be 4, and the width is going to be 1 inch. Now what we want to do is we want to lock this in center to our model. So we could use the coincident constraint between the center line and this line right here. And that will lock it in for us. Go ahead and hit OK. The extrusion depth needs to be, let's see, 0.375. And then again, we're going to add draft while we extrude. So add taper, and it should be -7. And hit the green check mark. Now we need to mirror that over to the other side. So again, we could just select that feature. There, go ahead and select it from the feature tree, and then go to mirror, and now select the face that we want to mirror across. And there it is. Okay, now at this point, we're going to go ahead and add some fillets. So go to the rounds tool, and we're going to go ahead and put in, we'll keep it at 0.1 radius. Select this edge right here. Select the one at the bottom. Select the 4 sharp edges of the handle. Do not select those 2 side edges, because that's where the parting line is. Go ahead and hit the green check. Let's go back to round, and let's add some smaller ones now. So 0.06, and select this edge here, the one below it. Notice they don't go all the way around, and the reason for that is because it comes to a sharp edge, and it's set to tangent propagation. Thus, if it's not tangent, like in this case where we have a sharp end, it stops, so you have to help it around. The green check mark. All right, now moving along here, what we're going to do next is we're going to learn to engrave our name or whatever you want to put, like a logo on here. So select this face, and we'll begin. I guess we could go to extrude first if you want it embossed, or if you want it engraved. Now take the line tool and slightly offset where the bottom of the text will be, where you're going to draw it, basically. In the middle, click, and then right click on that and change it to construction. Okay, now you could go and click on the text tool, click on the end vertex where the text is supposed to be, and drag it up. And this is about the height I want it. And now I could go ahead and type in whatever I like here. I'm going to go ahead and type in CREO 3.0. And you can see the preview right there. You have the ability to use symbols. There's the font 3D. There's different fonts you could use. Whatever you want. If you want a slant, so you make it like italicized. Just different things like that, kerning and things. Just go ahead, and when you get something that you like in there, go ahead and hit OK. Make sure it's not too long. It should stay within the boundaries, and hit OK. And now if we hit OK here, we should see if we want it engraved, we go ahead and just put in here 0.02. And there it is. It's going to be raised. Or if you flip it, you can make it engraved. So flip and the remove material. It's up to you, whichever you prefer. Go ahead and hit the green check mark when you're ready. Okay, and then one other thing we're going to do, we're going to make a little handle grip here. So let's go, in this case, the right plane, and go to extrude. And we're going to actually put in little cutouts. So I'm going to go to the circle tool, and right there make a little cutout. Okay, I'm not going to put a dimension in, I'm just going to eyeball it. I'm going to hit OK. I'm going to have it go in both directions. And it's going to remove material, cutting that out just like you see there. Hit the green check. And now I could select that, go to pattern, and I'm going to, in this case, we want to go ahead and add some additional features. Actually, we're going to go along an axis or direction. Select this edge as your direction. You see the preview there. Let's flip it and then add some additional instances. So maybe we want 6. And click over here. See, they fit pretty well as is. I think I'm going to keep them at the 0.63 distance. That's just arbitrary. I'm not sure where that came from, but we could just leave it at that and hit the green check mark. Now, if you want to fillet those too, I guess we could have patterned the fillet too, but I'll just go ahead and add them all right here, just really quick. And that pretty much finishes off that exercise 3. Now in the book, there's a lab 3, which is a bit more on the complex side here. Let's get to it. Okay, and L3 actually consists of several of the features that we just used to make this part, believe it or not, even though it looks very different. So what we're going to do, let's see, the overall 6.61, and we have a 0.6 radius at the bottom that's tangent to 35-degree angle, and then we also have this radius at the top of 1.5 that is not tangent, so be careful on this one. Let's begin. I usually recommend you do these on your own. Only watch this video if you need a little help to get you through, because I want you to learn this software. You're going to learn it best when you sit there, believe it or not, and struggle for a little bit before going in and cheating looking at the video. Okay, now I'm going to go right to Extrude, and off the front plane I'm going to go to do our little trick here, a line, and middle click, make that 3 inches, and then right click on it and change it to we want to change it to construction here. Or reference, I suppose. No. Anyway, there we go, construction. Now we're going to go ahead and do the same thing we did before. Draw a little line at an angle. We're going to select what we want to mirror. Go to the mirror tool, select the center line. Oh, you know, I forgot to draw a real center line. Hold on a second. Okay, now we select what we want to mirror. Go to mirror, select the center line, and it should mirror over for you. Okay, at this point you could take your arc tools. The tangent end arc is what we're interested in. Just for the bottom, click and connect that. Now for the top, it is not going to be tangent, so do not use that one. Instead, let's see, we could go with center 3-point, I suppose would work. We could go with 3-point. In case of 3-point, just go clear across. Do not go up, because that will get tangency. And there we go. See how it's not smooth? It kind of bubbles out. There's no tangency there. That's good. We don't want tangency on this one. So middle click. Go ahead and change this to 0.6. Oh, in this case, it's kind of locked in from biggest. So we'll have to change some of these dimensions first before we could get that one to update. So we're at 1.5 there. Let's go ahead and add a dimension between both centers. Oops. And struggling a little bit here. Hold on a second. Suppose we could add our 35-degree angle and some of the other dimensions first. Sometimes you have to manipulate those before you could do the rest. Okay, and from here, oh, there's a dimension of the centers. I believe that is. Okay, if this happens, hit undo. Let's see if we can change this to 0.6 yet. Yeah, there we go. Okay, now this one apparently is not to the center. There's the center there. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and add the normal dimension from this center to this one. Middle click, and according to the print, that needs to be 2 inches, which I was really close. And then middle click again, go to coincident and add a coincident relation between this center, that's this arc here, to this center, which is the center crosshairs, which is our origin 0, 0, 0. Okay, we could hit OK. Now we're going to extrude that. The extrusion depth is 0.61, but we had to add draft to it. So go to options and add taper, and the taper is specified at 16 degrees. So it's -16. Hit the green check. Now we have to put the fillets in. Now generally the larger fillets go in easiest first, kind of a rule of thumb. And then you could go with the smaller fillets around it. In this case, it doesn't work that way. It's a kind of an unusual feature here. So we're going to go with the 0.25 first on this edge, and then the 0.5 over here. If you do them the other way, you might get a little error message. So in this case, 0.25 and 0.5. Hit the green check. Okay, this does not get shelled out, by the way. Instead of shelling, you're going to just offset the face, and then so we're going to select that face, go to extrude. We're going to go back to the offset, loop, select the entire face. This time the arrow's pointing out, so we need to hit a -0.125, so it goes inward. Hit close here for that. Go to extrude it. So at this point, we hit OK. Put in 0.25, flip it, and also under options, you have to add that same taper of -16. Oops, actually it's just 16. Oh, did I forget the minus? There we go. And hit the green check. Okay, let's cut the hole in here. Select this face, go to extrude. Again, we could go concentric. It's going to make it easier to find that center. And then that dimension, I believe it is 0.75. Let's just double check. Now it's 1 inch through. Hit OK. Flip it and select through all. Now select this face, go to extrude, and we're going to do that little trick with the rectangle tool. Draw a little rectangle like so. It's going to be 0.25 wide. We'll make it 2 inches length. And then it gets dimension 0.25 offset from the center here. Now we're going to take our Centerline tool, find the midpoint, get it in there, and then use the coincident relationship between both of those to lock it in. Now we just go to OK, flip it. It actually cuts material this time, and 0.25 thick. Hit the green check. Now the text. Select this face, go to extrude, and we want to use the, in this case, we're going to use the center and ends arc. Which we need to actually locate the center first. So click on references, select this edge to get the center point reference first. And then we're going to go to the 3-point arc, click and drag it across here, middle click 2 times, and then right click on it and change it to construction. Now we have what we could put our text on. So we could now go to the text tool, select this, draw it out perpendicular. See that little perpendicular symbol there? And we'll call it Lab 3. Click on kerning. Oh, I'm sorry, place line curve. Uh-oh, locked up. Hold on a second. There we go. Click on the curve. And then the aspect ratio, you could smooth it out or extend it. Just make sure that they don't overlap and hit OK. Now we could just go to OK. In this case, we'll have it embossed 0.02. And now we could set the material type to brass. So if we go over here to render, appearance gallery, find brass. And over here, we'll just do part, select it, and then middle click. Note here you could go to shading with reflections. If you want to make it look a little nicer, you could photorealistically render it, turn perspective. There's some settings that we need to go through, but basically, hopefully there you're getting the idea. Okay, there's another exercise in here. A lab, I should say, lab 3B. Let's go to new, L3B. And for this one, we could use revolve. This goes back to exercise 2. And we'll select the front plane. We'll draw a little center line right there. And then take the line tool and draw out some parallel and horizontal lines. Make sure they're parallel like you see here. You should see those parallel symbols appear quite often. Okay, here to add the dimensions, I'm not going to go through because of time constraints here. You could add the dimensions just like that. I'm not going to put in the dimensions according to the book. That's your job. Go through that. When you're done adding those features, just hit OK. It should revolve at 360 degrees. And then go ahead and add a round on the inside edge there. Put in the proper size. And you're done. And that concludes exercise 3.